Parkana stepped off the transport shuttle and into Galactic University Station Harmony 7 for the first time. Her eyes went wide as she took in the massive corridor stretching before her. The ceiling arced high above, covered in bioluminescent panels that shifted through colors she didn't have names for. Beings of every imaginable shape moved through the space. Some walked on legs, others floated, and a few seemed to phase in and out of visibility as they passed. She adjusted the straps on her backpack and took a deep breath. This was it. She was the first human ever accepted to the Galactic University. The weight of that responsibility pressed on her shoulders, but excitement bubbled up stronger than nervousness. She'd dreamed of this since she was a little girl watching the stars from her bedroom window in Seoul. A hovering terminal near the entrance chirped at her in a melodic language she didn't understand. Her translator implant kicked in a second later. New arrival, please proceed to medical processing, section 7 blue. The medical wing smelled like ozone and something floral. Hana found herself in a waiting area with chairs designed for bodies nothing like hers. She opted to stand. A few other beings waited with her. One looked like a collection of floating geometric shapes. Another resembled a very tall, very thin deer covered in soft purple fur. The deer being kept glancing at her and then quickly looking away. "Park Hana," a voice called from a doorway. The creature standing there had 4 arms and smooth gray skin. Its eyes were large and dark, positioned on the sides of its head. "I am Crix. I will be processing your medical intake today." Hana followed Crix into a bright examination room. The walls were covered in equipment she couldn't identify. Crix gestured to a platform in the center of the room. "Please stand here. This will not hurt. We need biological samples for the university database. Standard procedure for all students." "Of course," Hana said, stepping onto the platform. "What kind of samples?" "Blood, tissue, saliva, and a full genetic scan," Crix said. One of its arms manipulated a control panel, while another held what looked like a scanning device. "Your species provided preliminary data, but we need comprehensive records for medical emergencies and dietary requirements." The process took about 20 minutes. Crix worked efficiently, though Hana noticed its hands shook slightly when drawing her blood. The needle barely hurt. She'd had worse at her dentist back home. "All finished," Crix said, stepping back quickly. "Results will be processed within the day. You may proceed to student housing assignment." Hana's assigned quarters were in the student residential ring, section 12. The door slid open to reveal a modest room split into 2 halves. On one side, someone had already moved in. Soft fabrics in shades of blue and green draped over everything. Plants that looked like coral grew in small containers. The air smelled like rain. "Hello?" A soft voice came from behind a translucent partition. A being emerged that made Hana think of a seahorse mixed with a butterfly. It stood upright on 2 delicate legs, and its skin seemed to shimmer with iridescent patterns. Wing-like appendages folded against its back. Large, gentle eyes regarded Hana with obvious nervousness. "Hi," Hana said, keeping her voice soft and giving her best friendly smile. "I'm Hana. I guess we're roommates?" The being's patterns shifted to a pale yellow. "I am Velm. You are?" "The human." Its voice trembled slightly. "That's me. First one here, apparently." Hana set her bag down on the unclaimed side of the room, moving slowly. Something about Velm reminded her of a frightened bird. "Is this your first year too?" "Second year," Velm said. "I study atmospheric sciences." "You are in xenobiology?" "Yes, how did you know?" There was a message to all students. They said a human would be joining. They said to be welcoming. The way Velm said welcoming made it sound like a careful instruction rather than a natural feeling. Hana decided not to push it. "Well, I'm excited to be here. And I promise I'm pretty easy to live with." Over the next few days, Hana settled into a routine. She attended orientation sessions, got lost in the station's winding corridors at least a dozen times, and tried foods that were sometimes delicious and sometimes absolutely terrible. She learned that the deer-like beings were called Quilarians, and they were Velm's species. The geometric shapes were Methrians, who communicated through light patterns. The 4-armed gray beings like Crix were cystic, and they were some of the best researchers in the galaxy. Her first xenobiology class was an education in more than just science. Professor Thex, a Granthian who looked like a massive armored turtle standing upright, gestured to the assembled students with one thick arm. "In this class, you will learn the fundamental principles of cross-species biology. You will work in mixed groups. You will learn that life takes infinite forms. Hana looked around the classroom. 50 students filled the tiered seating. She was the only one with forward-facing eyes. The only one with obvious teeth when she smiled. The only one who seemed to be built for, she wasn't quite sure what. Everyone else looked designed for specific purposes. Herbivores with grinding teeth, filter feeders with no mouths at all, beings that absorbed nutrients through their skin. During the lunch break, Hana sat in the communal eating area. She'd brought protein bars from Earth. Knowing the station's food might not always agree with her biology, she unwrapped one and took a bite. The conversation at the nearby tables stopped. Several students stared at her. Hana paused mid-chew. What? A Methrian student's lights flickered. Its translator said, "Those contain enzyme chains that would dissolve most species' digestive systems." Hana looked at the protein bar. The label said it had 20 grams of protein and listed things like hydrolyzed collagen and protease enzymes. She shrugged. "It's just a protein bar. We eat these after working out." "Working out?" another student asked. "You know, exercise. Running, lifting weights, that kind of thing." The students exchanged looks that Hana couldn't interpret. One of them said something about predator species that her translator didn't quite catch. The conversation slowly resumed, but quieter than before. That evening, Velm was arranging its plants when Hana returned to their quarters. The Quilarian's patterns shifted to a cautious orange. "Hana, may I ask you something?" "Sure, anything." "Do humans really exercise until they are in pain? On purpose?" Hana laughed. "I mean, yeah, kind of. That's how you build muscle. You stress it, it repairs itself stronger. It's normal for us." Velm's patterns went pale. "That sounds frightening." "It's really not that bad," Hana said, but she was starting to understand something. These beings weren't built like her. They were fragile in ways she'd never considered. She thought about how carefully she'd been moving around Velm, how she'd instinctively softened her voice and her movements. Some part of her had known. What she didn't know was that in a laboratory 3 sections away, Crix was staring at a display screen with all 4 hands frozen in shock. The genetic analysis of Park Hana's DNA had just completed. Red warning symbols flashed across the readout. Protein synthesis rates that indicated extreme muscle density, bone structure that could withstand impacts that would shatter most species' skeletons, a healing factor that most medical databases flagged as impossible, an immune system so aggressive it would attack and destroy most known pathogens before they could establish infection. At the bottom of the report, the automated classification system had generated a rating. Threat level, apex predator, death world origin confirmed, caution advised. Crix's hands shook as it forwarded the report to Professor Thex with a priority flag. Within the hour, that report would reach station security. Within the day, it would be on the Galactic Council's emergency briefing list. But Park Hana, laughing with her roommate about the strange plants that grew on Velm's homeworld, had no idea that her simple DNA sample had just changed everything. She had no idea that while she slept that night, emergency meetings were being called across 3 star systems. She had no idea that her species, kind and curious humans who had finally reached the stars, had just been classified as the most dangerous predators the galaxy had ever encountered. She only knew that she was excited for tomorrow's classes and hopeful that she was making friends. Sometimes ignorance was bliss. The emergency council chamber had never been called to session this quickly. Representatives from 40 species materialized through holographic projection, their forms shimmering in the circular room. At the center stood Council Arbiter Vess, a Mithrin whose elongated head and silver skin marked them as one of the galaxy's oldest telepathic races. Vess raised one long-fingered hand. "We convene regarding species file NH001, designation Homo sapiens, common name human." A 3-dimensional display materialized above the council floor. Park Hana's genetic code spiraled in the air, sections highlighted in red. Most of it was red. Professor Thex stood at the presentation podium, his massive Granthian frame somehow looking small in this context. "I have taught biology for 70 cycles. I have studied over 3,000 species. I have never seen genetic markers like these." He manipulated the display. A section of code expanded. "This sequence controls muscle fiber density. Human muscle tissue is approximately 3 to 4 times denser than the galactic average. Their grip strength alone would crush the bones of most species in this council." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Thex continued. Their skeletal structure uses a calcium phosphate composite that can withstand impact forces we associate with industrial accidents. A fall that would kill most of us would leave a human with minor bruising. Another section of code appeared. Their cardiovascular system operates under what we would classify as extreme stress conditions as their normal state. They have a 4-chambered heart that can pump oxygenated blood at rates and pressures that would cause system failure in species built like the Quilarians or Methrians. A Quilarian representative, their patterns flickering anxiously, spoke up. Surely these are military modifications.
Gene therapy for soldiers?
No, Thex said quietly. This is their natural baseline. Every human has these characteristics. The display shifted to show neural structures. Their reaction time is faster than any non-enhanced species we have encountered. They process threat assessment and physical response in milliseconds. They have forward-facing eyes designed for tracking moving prey across distances. Fess leaned forward. What is their world classification? Thex hesitated. According to the human-provided data, Class 12, the chamber erupted. Several representatives stood, their various forms of agitation clear across different biologies. Class 12 was the highest death world rating. Planets with megapredators, extreme weather, geological instability, and atmospheric conditions that would kill most galactic species within hours. There must be an error, someone said. Thex shook his head. I verified it personally. Earth has survived 5 mass extinction events, megavolcanoes, ice ages, asteroid impacts, and humans evolved during the most recent hostile period, when megafauna predators still roamed their continents. He pulled up images of Earth animals, lions, bears, crocodiles, sharks. These are some of Earth's current predators. Humans hunted them, not with advanced technology, with sharpened stones and persistence. Persistence? Fess asked. Humans can run for hours without stopping. They are the only species we have encountered that can literally chase prey until it dies of exhaustion. On their world, they call it persistence hunting. They simply never stop coming. The silence that followed was heavy. Finally, a representative from the Cystic spoke. What do you recommend? Vess stood, their telepathic presence touching every mind in the chamber lightly. We cannot panic. We cannot let the humans know we are afraid. One human is currently on this station. She is, by all accounts, friendly and curious. But we must understand what we are dealing with. Quarantine Earth? Someone suggested. Impossible, said a voice from the back. Dr. Yoon Daehan materialized in the chamber via hologram. The human diplomat looked tired. You invited us to join the Galactic University. You cannot uninvite us now without explaining why. And if you tell humanity they are too dangerous, you will create the exact problem you fear. You knew about this? Vess asked. Daehan shook his head. Not the specifics. We knew we evolved on a harsh world. We didn't realize it was unusual. We thought everyone was like us. Professor Thex pulled up another display. Their immune system is perhaps the most terrifying aspect. It treats most known pathogens as minor irritants. We have tested samples against every bioweapon in the restricted database. The human immune system defeated all of them within hours. They are living weapons, someone whispered. They are people, Daehan said firmly. Hana is 22 years old. She likes music and growing plants. She wants to study alien life because she thinks it's beautiful. She cried when she was accepted to the university because she was so happy. Vess considered this. We propose Protocol Gentle Watch. We monitor the human carefully but discreetly. We ensure she is comfortable and unthreatened. We study her behavior. And we tell her nothing. You want to spy on a student? Daehan said. We want to protect the station, Vess replied. If she is truly peaceful, then no harm will come from observation. If she is not, the arbiter left the sentence unfinished. The council voted. Protocol Gentle Watch was approved by a wide margin. Daehan was sworn to secrecy. Surveillance teams were assigned in rotating shifts. And Park Hana, sleeping peacefully in her quarters while Velm's bioluminescent plants cast soft light across the room, remained unaware. The next morning, Hana noticed something odd. People were being extremely nice to her. When she went to the cafeteria, staff members smiled and asked if her food was acceptable. When she accidentally bumped into a cystic student in the corridor, they apologized profusely even though it was clearly Hana's fault. Professor Thex started every class by asking if she was comfortable and if the temperature was appropriate. Other professors did the same. It was sweet but strange. Velm seemed different too. The Quilarian flinched whenever Hana moved too quickly. When Hana asked if something was wrong, Velm's patterns went pale and they insisted everything was fine. "I'm going to the gym," Hana said one evening. "Want to come watch? See what human exercise looks like." Velm's patterns flickered rapidly. I have studying to do." In the station's recreation facility, Hana changed into workout clothes and approached the weight machines. She started with what she considered a light warm-up, setting the resistance to about 50 kilograms for shoulder presses. The machine made a grinding noise on the third repetition, then a snapping sound. The resistance suddenly vanished and the weights crashed down. Hana barely managed to avoid getting hit. A maintenance worker rushed over, a being that looked like a mobile cluster of tentacles. "Are you injured?" "No, I'm fine." "What happened?" The worker examined the machine with several appendages. "This machine has a safety limit. You exceeded it." The mechanism failed. "But I was only using 50 kilos, Hana said. "Yes," the worker said quietly. "This machine was designed for species with significantly less physical capability." "I will order stronger equipment." Hana apologized and left the gym confused. In the surveillance room, 3 security officers watched the footage replay. One of them, Station Chief Morn, a Velkian warrior covered in ceremonial scars, shook his massive head. "She broke the machine with a warm-up," he said. "What could she do at full strength?" Nobody wanted to answer that question. The surveillance continued for weeks. Cameras tracked Hana through her daily routine. They watched her jog through the station's designated running track at speeds that would exhaust most species within minutes. She did it for 45 minutes straight, barely breathing hard. They watched her reflexively catch a dropped glass in the cafeteria, with reaction time that the analysts flagged as combat grade. Most disturbing was the incident in Professor Thex's lab. Hana was preparing a slide when she cut her finger on the edge of a glass cutter. Blood welled up, bright red. Cricks working nearby saw it and tensed. Hana barely reacted. She wrapped the cut in a tissue and kept working. 5 minutes later, she unwrapped it to check. The bleeding had stopped. 10 minutes after that, the wound was visibly closing. Cricks backed away slowly and triggered a silent alarm. By the time security reviewed the footage, Hana had finished her lab work and left. The cut was barely visible. "Their healing factor operates at speeds we consider impossible without medical intervention," the medical analyst reported to Vess. "Minor wounds close within hours. Bruises fade in days. We believe major injuries would heal in weeks rather than months." Vess reviewed all the data in their private chamber. Footage of Hana laughing with classmates. Hana helping a smaller student reach a high shelf. Hana sharing her earth snacks with anyone curious enough to try them. She was kind, gentle even, but the data didn't lie. She was also a perfectly designed predator from a nightmare world, built to hunt and survive conditions that would kill most galactic species. The question Vess kept returning to was simple but terrifying. What happened if something made Park Hana stop being gentle? In her quarters, Hana lay in her bed staring at the ceiling. She knew something was going on. People looked at her differently now. They were friendly, but there was something underneath. Something like fear. She thought about pulling out of the program, going home to Earth, but this was her dream. She had worked so hard to get here. "Velm?" she said softly into the darkness. "Yes?" came the reply from the other side of the room. "Are we friends?" There was a long pause. I think so." "Why do you ask?" "Everyone seems scared of me. I don't know why. I'm just trying to study and make friends." Another pause. Then Velm said something Hana didn't expect. "I am scared of you, but I'm also glad you are my roommate." "Why both?" "Because you are powerful in ways I do not understand. But you have only ever been kind to me." Hana thought about this. "I would never hurt you, Velm. You know that, right?" "I do," Velm said softly. "But knowing and feeling are different things." Hana closed her eyes. She didn't have the words to fix this, whatever this was. She only knew she needed to be patient and keep being herself. Eventually, maybe people would see her as more than whatever they thought she was. In the surveillance room, the night shift watched Park Hana fall asleep. In the council chambers, Arbiter Vess prepared another report. And throughout the station, beings from 100 worlds went about their lives, most of them unaware that humanity had just become the galaxy's most carefully watched species. The storm was coming, though nobody knew it yet. And when it arrived, everyone would learn exactly what a human was capable of when the gentle mask came off. The alarm started as a low pulse, then built to a wailing scream that echoed through every corridor of Harmony 7 station. Hana jerked awake, her heart already pounding. Her translator implant crackled to life. Station alert. Hostile breach detected. All personnel proceed to designated safe zones. This is not a drill. Velm tumbled from their sleeping platform, patterns flashing panic white. What is happening? Hana was already pulling on clothes. I don't know. Come on. We need to follow the emergency protocols. They rushed into the corridor where other students were emerging from quarters, all of them confused and frightened. Amethrian students' light patterns were strobing erratically. 2 Quilarians huddled together, their wings folded tight against their bodies. Everyone stay calm, Hana called out, her voice cutting through the noise. Let's move together toward the safe zones. An explosion rocked the station. The floor bucked beneath their feet. Several students fell. Emergency lighting kicked on, bathing everything in red. Then the first scream came from the end of the corridor. It was a sound Hana had never heard before, high-pitched and wet. A cystic student came running around the corner, 3 of their forearms clutched to their chest. Blue blood leaked between their fingers. Behind them came creatures Hana recognized from the briefing materials. Ruzik pirates. They stood upright on powerful legs, their bodies covered in mottled gray scales. Their heads were broad and flat, filled with teeth designed for tearing. Each carried weapons that looked like they were made from scavenged ship parts and pure violence. Move! Hana shouted, grabbing Velm and pulling them back. The other students scattered, running in every direction. The Ruzik laughed, a sound like grinding metal, and gave chase. Hana dragged Velm into a side corridor. Her mind raced. The safe zones would be sealed by now. They needed to hide. She spotted a maintenance access panel and pried it open with strength that made the metal groan. Get in! Velm squeezed into the narrow space. Hana followed, pulling the panel shut behind them. They huddled in the darkness, breathing hard. Hana could feel her heart hammering against her ribs. Every sense felt sharp, heightened. She could hear footsteps in the corridor outside. Heavy, deliberate, hunting. Through the ventilation grating, she watched 3 Ruzik walk past. One of them was dragging a Quilarian student who had stopped moving. Hana's hands clenched into fists. Heat flooded her body, a feeling she didn't have a name for. Velm pressed against her, trembling. What do we do? We wait, Hana whispered. We wait until they pass, then we find another way to the safe zones. But the pirates didn't pass. They stopped just outside the maintenance access. One of them sniffed the air. Its head turned toward their hiding spot. Fresh meat in there, it growled. The translator made its voice sound pleased. Smells different, special. The panel ripped away. Light flooded in. A Ruzik reached in with one clawed hand and grabbed Velm, yanking the Quilarian out. Velm screamed, their patterns flashing terror white. Something happened to Hana in that moment. Something primal. For weeks she had been careful, gentle, moving softly among beings she knew were fragile. She had suppressed every instinct that made her human, made herself smaller, quieter, less. That ended now. Hana exploded from the maintenance shaft with a scream that made the Ruzik flinch. She slammed into the one holding Velm with her full body weight, driving her shoulder into its midsection. The pirate went down hard, its breath leaving in a whoosh. Velm tumbled free. Run! Hana shouted at her roommate. Then she turned to face 3 pirates who outweighed her by at least 50 kilos each. The Ruzik who'd been knocked down scrambled up, snarling. Little thing wants to fight? We crush you, they came at her together. Hana moved on pure instinct. She ducked under the first swipe, feeling claws whistle past her head. She grabbed a piece of broken panel from the floor and swung it like a club, connecting with the second pirate's knee. It howled and stumbled. The third one tackled her. They went down in a tangle. The Ruzik was stronger, heavier. It pinned her arms and opened its jaws, going for her throat. Hana did something the pirate didn't expect. She head-butted it. Hard. Her forehead met its snout with a crack that sent pain exploding through her skull. But the Ruzik reeled back, stunned. Human skulls were dense, heavy, built to protect the brain that made them apex predators. Hana rolled free and kicked out, catching another pirate in the joint of its leg. She heard something crack. It went down screeching. She grabbed its weapon, something that looked like a pipe with sharp edges welded to it, and swung at the third pirate. She missed. The Razik dodged and backhanded her across the face. Hana's vision exploded in stars. She tasted blood. The hit would have killed most galactic species. It made Hana angry. She came back swinging. The pipe connected with the pirate's arm. The weapon tore a gash in its scales. Blue-black blood sprayed. The Razik stumbled back, clutching its arm. For a moment, all three pirates stared at her, at this small creature from an unknown world who had just hurt them. One of them said something in a language the translator didn't catch. They looked at each other, then back at Hana. Then they ran. Hana stood there, chest heaving, blood running from her nose and a cut on her cheek. The pipe dropped from her shaking hands. What had she just done? Hana? Velm's voice came from behind her. The Quilarian had only made it a short distance before hiding. Are you all right? I'm fine, Hana said, though she wasn't sure that was true. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. We need to keep moving. They made their way through the corridors, moving carefully. 3 times they had to hide from pirate patrols. Twice they found injured students and brought them along. By the time they reached the xenobiology lab, Hana was leading a group of 7 terrified aliens. The lab had reinforced doors. Hana got them inside and locked it. She found a first aid kit and started treating injuries. Her hands were steady now, focused on the task. Most of the wounds were minor: cuts, bruises, shock. What do we do now? Asked a Methrian student, its lights pulsing weak yellow. We wait for security, Hana said. Security failed, another student said. The Razik overwhelmed them in minutes. Hana thought about Station Chief Morn and the Velkian warriors who were supposed to be the toughest fighters in the galaxy. If they had fallen. An explosion rocked the station again. Closer this time. Through the lab's window, Hana could see into the corridor. A group of pirates ran past, chasing someone. Then came Station Chief Morn, limping badly, one arm hanging useless. 3 Razik were on him. He fought valiantly, but he was wounded and outnumbered. Hana watched him go down. The pirates laughed and kicked his fallen form. She stood up. What are you doing? Velm asked. Staying here gets us killed eventually, Hana said. They're going through the station section by section. When they get here, that door won't stop them. So what do we do? Hana looked at the other students, at Velm with their shimmering wings, at the Methrian barely holding its form together, at the injured Cystic still bleeding blue. They were prey, every one of them, built for peaceful worlds with gentle conditions. But Hana wasn't. You stay here, she said. Keep the door locked. Don't open it for anyone except station security. Where are you going? Hana picked up the pipe weapon she'd dropped earlier. She tested its weight. Hunting. You cannot fight them all, Velm said, patterns flashing terrified orange. I'm not going to fight them, Hana said. I'm going to do something worse. She slipped out of the lab before anyone could stop her. The corridor was dark except for emergency lighting. Hana moved quietly, listening. Her heart rate slowed. Her breathing deepened. Something old woke up in her brain, something that remembered when humans were prey that learned to hunt the hunters. She found the first pirate alone, trying to break into a sealed storage room. Hana approached from behind, silent. The pipe swung once. The pirate dropped without making a sound. She dragged the body into a side room. The second and third she found together. Hana threw a piece of debris down a corridor, making them investigate. When they split up to search, she took them one at a time, quick, efficient, not killing but leaving them unconscious. She learned their patterns. Razik were strong and aggressive, but they expected their prey to run. When something came at them from the darkness, when something hunted them back, they hesitated. That hesitation was enough. By the time she'd disabled 7 pirates, word was spreading. She could hear it in their communications. Something was in the corridors. Something dangerous. They started moving in larger groups. Hana adapted. She found a supply closet and made simple traps. A tripwire from electrical cable. A heavy piece of equipment balanced above a doorway. She led pirates into her traps, then finished them while they were disoriented. 2 hours into the attack, the Razik started to fear the darkened corridors of the xenobiology wing. They'd come in expecting easy prey. Instead, they were being picked off one by something they couldn't see clearly, couldn't catch, and couldn't intimidate. In the surveillance room, the few security officers still operational watched in stunned silence. The cameras showed Park Hana moving through the station like a nightmare. She wasn't faster than the Razik, she wasn't stronger, but she was smarter, more patient, and she absolutely refused to stop. "Get me a secure channel to the council," one officer said. "They need to see this." "What should I tell them?" The officer watched as Hana disabled 3 more pirates using nothing but a piece of pipe, tactical thinking, and apparently endless endurance. "Tell them we finally understand what an apex predator from a Class 12 death world actually means." Hana's face was a mask of concentration and blood. She'd been cut, hit, and bruised. She kept going. Because on Earth, humans had learned a simple truth. Predators that give up die. Predators that keep coming win. She wasn't trying to save the station. She wasn't trying to be a hero. She was just protecting her roommate and her classmates with the only tools she had. A human's endless persistence, and a human's terrifying refusal to ever stop hunting. The station security forces found her 3 hours after the initial breach. Hana sat on the floor outside the xenobiology lab, her back against the wall. 17 unconscious Razik pirates lay arranged in a neat row, tied up with electrical cable and strips of torn fabric. The pipe weapon rested across her knees. Blood covered her face and arms, most of it not hers. Around her sat 12 students she had rescued. Velm pressed close to her side, trembling but alive. The Methrian student pulsed a steady, grateful blue. Even the injured Cystic had been bandaged with torn pieces of Hana's own shirt. Station Chief Morn limped over, his armor cracked and one eye swollen shut. He stared at the scene for a long moment. "You did this?" Hana looked up at him with exhausted eyes. "They were hurting people. You took down 17 Razik pirates alone." 18, Hana said quietly. "One got away. I think I broke its leg, though." Morn knelt down, ignoring the pain it caused him. He was a Velkian, bred for war, trained since childhood to fight. He had 100 combat victories to his name, and this small human student had accomplished something he had thought impossible. "How are you still conscious?" he asked. Hana shrugged. "Adrenaline, I guess. Is everyone okay? Did they get to the safe zones?" "Most made it, thanks in large part to you drawing the pirates away." Morn gestured to his team. "Get medics here, and someone find a recovery blanket for the human." As medical teams swarmed in, Hana finally allowed herself to relax. Her hands started shaking. The pain she had been ignoring came flooding back. A medic approached carefully, moving slowly like you would around a dangerous animal. "May I examine you?" the medic asked. "I'm fine. Check on the others first." "With respect, you have suffered multiple lacerations and contusions. You are bleeding." Hana looked down at herself. The medic was right. She hadn't really noticed. "Okay, but I promise I'm not as bad as I look." The medical scan confirmed what the surveillance data had already shown. Hana's injuries were healing at an accelerated rate. Cuts that should have required stitches were already closing. Bruises were fading from purple to yellow. Her bones showed stress fractures that were somehow repairing themselves in real time. "This is not possible," the medic muttered. "Sorry," Hana said. "Nothing. You should rest." But rest was not in Hana's immediate future. Within 6 hours, footage of what happened had spread across the galactic network. Someone on the security team had leaked it, whether by accident or on purpose. The images were everywhere. Park Hana, the friendly exchange student, hunting Razik pirates through darkened corridors like something from a nightmare. News organizations from 100 worlds requested interviews. Scientists demanded access to study her. Military organizations wanted to recruit her. And the Galactic Council convened another emergency session, this one broadcast publicly. Hana sat in her quarters, cleaned up but still wearing bandages, watching the news feeds on her personal display. Velm sat beside her, patterns cycling through confused colors. "They are calling you a hero," Velm said. "They are calling me a monster," Hannah replied, scrolling through another feed. "Look at this one. Death World Predator unleashed on station. This one says, 'I am proof that humans should never have been allowed in the galaxy.'" A chime at the door interrupted them. Hannah opened it to find Dr. Yoon Daehan standing there looking exhausted. Behind him was a woman Hannah didn't recognize carrying medical equipment. "Hannah," Daehan said. "This is Dr. Kim Sora. She is a neuroscientist from Earth. We need to talk." They sat around the small common area. Sora immediately started scanning Hannah with handheld devices, making concerned noises at the readings. "When were you going to tell me?" Hannah asked Daehan. "Tell you what?" "That everyone thinks I am a monster, that I have been classified as an apex predator since I gave my DNA sample, that people have been watching me this whole time." Daehan's face fell. "You knew?" "I figured it out. People were too careful around me. Too nice. They were scared." Hannah laughed bitterly. "I thought I was imagining it. Turns out I was right." Sora finished her scans and sat down. "Your healing rate is remarkable. You have microfractures in both hands, 3 cracked ribs, and multiple soft tissue injuries. You should be in a medical bed for a week. Instead, you will probably be fine in 2 days. Is that why you are here? To study the dangerous human? I am here because you are 22 years old and you just experienced significant trauma," Sora said gently. "I am here to make sure you are okay." Hannah felt something break inside her. Tears came suddenly, hot and unexpected. Velm made a soft sound and pressed closer. Sora moved to sit beside her, not touching, but present. "I did not want to hurt them," Hannah said through tears. "But they were going to kill everyone. What was I supposed to do?" "You did what you had to do," Sora said. "You protected people who could not protect themselves. Now everyone is afraid of me." "No," Velm said quietly. "Everyone is afraid of what you can do. That is different. I am still your friend, Hannah. I am just understanding you better now." Over the next 3 days, Hannah stayed in her quarters while the galaxy debated her existence. The Galactic Council session was broadcast continuously. Representatives from hundreds of species argued about what humanity meant for the galactic community. Some called for Earth to be quarantined. Others wanted humans banned from all stations. Military factions wanted to study human combat capabilities. Peace organizations wanted to understand how a predator species could also show compassion. Finally, Hannah was summoned to speak before the council herself. The chamber was massive, far larger in person than it appeared in broadcasts. Thousands of beings filled the seats. Hannah walked to the center floor, wearing a simple dress that Velm had helped her choose. She was still bruised, still healing, but she stood straight. Arbiter Vess spoke first. "Park Hannah of Earth, you have seen the debate surrounding your species. What do you wish to say?" Hannah took a deep breath. "I understand why you are afraid. I have seen the footage too. I watched myself do things that I did not know I could do. It scared me as much as it scared you." She looked around the chamber. "Humans are predators. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. We survived because we are tough and stubborn and we refuse to give up. Yes, we can be dangerous. Our history is full of violence. We have hurt each other in terrible ways. But we also created art, music, philosophy. We wrote stories about being better than we are. We made laws to protect the weak. We built societies based on the idea that everyone deserves dignity and respect. We reached for the stars not to conquer, but to learn." Her voice grew stronger. "You want to know what makes humans dangerous? It is not our strength or our speed or our healing factor. It is our choice. We know what we are capable of. We know we could hurt people. And most of us, every single day, choose not to." She pointed to the display showing the footage from the attack. "You see me hunting pirates. But look closer. I did not kill any of them. I could have. It would have been easier. But I chose to disable them instead because human society taught me that life is valuable. Even the lives of beings trying to hurt us. A representative stood. But what happens when humans choose violence? When you decide we are the enemy? Then we would be monsters, Hana said simply. Just like any other species that chooses violence. The difference is we know this about ourselves. We have spent thousands of years learning how to be better. We are not perfect, but we try. Velm stood in the gallery section, their patterns shifting to supportive green. May I speak? Vess nodded. Velm came to stand beside Hana, their small form dwarfed by the human. I am Quilarian. We are prey. Our entire evolution was about hiding and running. When I first met Hana, I was terrified. I could feel that she was a predator. Velm's patterns flickered. But every day, Hana made herself smaller. She moved carefully around me. She kept her voice soft. She was patient when I flinched at sudden movements. For 2 months, I watched her suppress every instinct to make me comfortable. She never asked me to get over my fear. She just kept being kind until I could see past it. Velm turned to look at Hana. When the pirates came, she could have run. She could have saved herself. She is faster and stronger than any of us. But she stayed. She fought. She protected me. Velm addressed the council directly. Hana is a predator, but she is a predator who chooses to protect prey. Is that not the best possible outcome? She knows what she is and chooses kindness anyway. How many species here can say the same? The chamber fell silent. Vess leaned back, their telepathic sense touching the minds of the council members. Finally, they spoke. The council will vote. But first, I have a question for Park Hana. If we allow humans to continue integration, what do you offer the galaxy? Hana thought about this carefully. We offer what we have always offered each other. Protection for those who cannot protect themselves. Innovation because we are used to solving impossible problems. Persistence because we do not know how to give up. And hope because we believe that different beings can work together even when instinct says we should fear each other. We are not asking you to stop being afraid of us, Hana continued. Fear is healthy. It keeps you safe. We are asking you to trust that we understand your fear and will honor it with our actions. The vote took 4 hours. In the end, the decision was close but clear. Humans would be allowed to continue integration into galactic society. But there were conditions. Humanity would help train galactic security forces. They would share their survival knowledge, their combat tactics, their persistent approach to problem solving. In exchange, they would be welcomed among the stars as partners rather than threats. Hana accepted on behalf of her species, though she wondered what Earth would think of the arrangement. That night, back in her quarters, she sat with Velm watching the stars through the viewport. Do you regret coming here? Velm asked. Hana considered the question. She thought about the fear, the surveillance, the violence. But she also thought about the friends she had made, the knowledge she had gained, the bridges she had built between species that had never met before. No, she said finally. This is where I am supposed to be. Outside, the galaxy turned, and somewhere on Earth, the first wave of new human exchange students prepared for their journey to the stars, unaware that one of their own had just changed everything. 6 months had changed everything and nothing at all. Hana stood in the observation deck of Harmony 7, watching ships from 100 worlds dock at the station. The damage from the pirate attack had been repaired. The corridors gleamed. But something fundamental had shifted in the way beings moved through those corridors. Students still laughed and studied together. Professors still taught their classes. But now, scattered among the familiar faces were more humans. 23 of them now called Harmony 7 home. The galaxy had decided to understand humanity rather than fear it, and understanding required proximity. Ready for today's session? A voice asked behind her. Hana turned to see Choi Junho, a former military advisor from Earth's Special Forces. He was older than Hana, somewhere in his 30s, with the kind of calm presence that came from years of experience. He had arrived 3 months ago to help establish what the galaxy was calling the Death World Survival Program. As ready as I will ever be, Hana said. How many students today? 47. We have representatives from 16 species. Junho smiled slightly. The Kalarians are finally starting to sign up voluntarily instead of being ordered by their governments. They walked together toward the training facility. It had been specially constructed in one of the station's outer rings, with reinforced walls and adjustable gravity. The galaxy had learned that training with humans required equipment built for much higher stress levels. Inside, alien students in various forms of protective gear waited nervously. Hana recognized a few. A cystic named Crix who had processed her original DNA sample, now looking at her with something closer to respect than fear. Several Methrians whose light patterns pulsed curious yellow. Even a Velkian warrior, one of Station Chief Morn's own people, stood among the students. Welcome, Junho said, his voice carrying easily. This is Introduction to Persistence Tactics, Week 1. I am Instructor Choi. This is Assistant Instructor Park. We are going to teach you how Death World species survive impossible situations. A Quilarian student raised a delicate hand. Will we have to fight? No, Hana said gently. Fighting is the last resort. Today we are going to teach you something more important. We are going to teach you how to think like a human. The lesson started simple. Problem-solving exercises. Junho presented scenarios where technology had failed and resources were limited. The students had to work in mixed groups to find solutions. At first, the alien students approached problems the way their species had evolved to approach them. The herbivores looked for safety and camouflage. The filter feeders wanted to wait for help. The Methrians tried to calculate optimal energy preservation. Stop, Hana said after watching the third group fail a basic scenario. You are all thinking about how to survive until rescue comes. Humans do not think that way. She reset the scenario. You are stranded on a hostile planet. Your ship is destroyed. Rescue is weeks away. What do you do? Wait in the safest location and preserve resources, a cystic student said. You die, Junho said bluntly. Waiting means hoping the environment does not kill you first. Humans do not hope. Humans act. He pulled up a human survival scenario from Earth's history. 73 days. That is how long a human named Aaron Ralston was trapped in a canyon with his arm pinned under a boulder. He survived by cutting off his own arm with a dull knife, then hiking out 8 kilometers to find help. The students recoiled in horror. Several made distressed sounds. We are not saying you should do this, Hana added quickly. We are saying that humans refuse to accept death as inevitable. If something is crushing us, we remove it. If we cannot remove it, we remove ourselves from it. We always find the third option that everyone else thinks is impossible. Over the weeks, the training evolved. Students learned human endurance techniques, though they could not match human stamina. They learned tactical thinking, how to use environment and psychology instead of relying on strength. They learned the human concept of acceptable losses, that sometimes you had to sacrifice something to preserve everything else. Most importantly, they learned that humans were not invincible. Junho made sure of that. He showed footage of human failures, human defeats, human mortality. We die, he said simply. We just refuse to die easily. The program expanded beyond Harmony 7. Other stations requested human instructors. Military organizations from peaceful species began recruiting humans as advisors. A Quilarian defense force, traditionally pacifist, hired a human strategist and stopped 3 pirate raids in 2 months using tactics they had never considered before. But the most significant changes happened in smaller ways. In the cafeteria where Hana ate lunch, the tables were mixed now. Humans sat with Quilarians, Methrians, cystic. The conversations were easier. The fear had not disappeared, but it had transformed into something closer to healthy respect. Velm had become something of a celebrity among their own people. A Quilarian who lived with a human and called them friend. They gave lectures about cross-species cooperation and had written a paper on predator-prey relationships in multi-species educational environments that was required reading in xenobiology courses. Across 3 sectors, you made me famous. Velm complained one evening, their patterns shifting through amused colors. You made yourself famous, Hana replied. I just gave you material to work with. There were still problems. A human student got into a fight with a Velkian over a perceived insult and broke the warrior's arm before anyone could intervene. The incident made galactic news for weeks. Humans were reminded loudly that their strength required constant control. More troubling were the military requests. Several governments wanted to hire humans as mercenaries. Others wanted human genetics for their own soldiers. The human ambassador, Dr. Yoon Daehan, spent most of his time refusing these requests and explaining that humans were not weapons for sale. "We are not here to fight your wars," he said repeatedly. "We are here to teach you to fight your own." 8 months after the pirate attack, the first joint operation took place. Razik pirates hit a science station in the Outer Rim. The defense force included 2 humans serving as tactical advisors. Using persistence hunting techniques and psychological warfare, they drove off the pirates without a single casualty. The footage was analyzed by every military academy in the galaxy. Not because of the violence, but because of the lack of it. The humans had predicted every move the pirates would make and countered it before the fighting could escalate. "This is the real human advantage," Professor Thex said in a lecture that Hana attended. "Not their strength or speed, their ability to think like their enemy, to understand predator behavior because they are predators themselves." Lee Minho, the cargo pilot who had helped during the evacuation, became a regular presence at Harmony 7. His ship docked at the station at least twice a month, and each time he found reasons to extend his stay. Hana had coffee with him when she could, and they talked about Earth and home and the strangeness of being human among aliens. "Do you miss it?" he asked one evening. "Earth? Every day," Hana admitted. "But I miss who I was there more than the place itself. I was just a biology student. Now I am a symbol." "You are still a biology student," Minho pointed out. "You still go to classes. You still study. The rest is just extra." "Extra," Hana laughed. "That is one way to put it." But he was right. Despite everything, Hana completed her coursework. She wrote papers on cross-species immune responses. She worked in the lab with Cricks, who had gone from terrified to genuinely friendly. She maintained her grades and her focus. The galaxy was learning about humanity, but Hana was learning about the galaxy too. She studied Quillarian art and found it breathtakingly delicate. She attended a Methrian light concert that moved her to tears. She learned to cook cystic cuisine, which required ingredients she had to order specially from 3 systems away. 1 year after her arrival, Harmony 7 hosted a celebration. The Integration Anniversary, they called it. A full year of successful human presence in the galactic community. The station was decorated in the styles of 100 worlds. Food from 1,000 cultures filled the cafeteria. Music from Earth mixed with melodies from species humanity had just met. Hana found herself on a small stage, asked to give a speech. She looked out at the crowd. Humans and aliens mixed freely now, though she noticed beings still gave humans slightly more space than they gave each other. Old instincts died hard. 1 year ago I came here excited and scared, Hana said. I wanted to learn about alien life. I wanted to make friends. I wanted to prove that humans belonged among the stars. I did not know that my DNA would mark me as dangerous. I did not know I would have to fight pirates. I did not know that everything I did would be watched and analyzed and debated by billions of beings across the galaxy. She smiled. But I also did not know that I would find friends among species I never imagined. I did not know that being different could be a strength instead of just a problem. I did not know that the galaxy was full of beings who choose to understand instead of just being afraid. Hana gestured to the crowd. We are all predators in some way. Some of us hunt food. Some hunt knowledge. Some hunt experiences or beauty or meaning. What matters is what we do with our nature. Do we use it to harm or to help? Humans chose to help. And you chose to let us. That makes all of us braver than our instincts say we should be. The applause that followed was enthusiastic, though Hana noticed the Quillarians' version of clapping was much quieter than the humans. Still, the sentiment was clear. Later, as the celebration wound down, Hana stood in the observation deck again. Velm joined her as they often did. They stood in comfortable silence watching the stars. Do you think we changed the galaxy? Velm asked. I think we changed how the galaxy sees us, Hana said. The rest will take time. I am glad you came here, Velm said, even though you terrified me at first. Especially because you terrified me. I learned that fear does not have to mean hate. Hana put her arm around her friend's delicate shoulders, careful to keep the gesture gentle. I learned that being a predator does not mean being alone. Far away on Earth, the second wave of exchange students prepared for their journey. The application process for Galactic University had become one of the most competitive programs in human education. Everyone wanted to be part of what Hana had started. But Hana knew the truth. She had not started anything. She had simply been herself, honestly and completely, and let the galaxy decide if that was acceptable. The fact that they had said yes was a gift she would never take for granted. Station Chief Morn approached them, moving easier now that his injuries had fully healed. Park Hana, the council has a request. What kind of request? They want to establish a permanent human cultural center on Harmony 7, a place where other species can learn about Earth safely. They want you to help design it. Hana looked at Velm, who pulsed encouraging colors. She looked at the stars beyond the viewport. She thought about everything that had happened, everything she had learned, everything she had become. I will do it, she said. On one condition. What condition? It has to be a place where humans learn about other species too. Not just them learning about us. Real understanding goes both ways. Morn's scarred face creased into what might have been a smile. Agreed, when can you start? Tomorrow, Hana said. I have classes in the morning, training sessions in the afternoon, but I can start planning in the evening. After Morn left, Velm laughed their tinkling laugh. You never stop, do you? True persistence, Hunter. Persistence is what we do, Hana agreed. But I am learning to rest too. Want to watch that Methrian documentary tonight? The one about bioluminescent seas? Yes, I will make tea. You will fall asleep halfway through like always. Probably, Hana admitted. They walked back through the corridors together. Human and Quillarian, predator and prey, friends. Around them, the station hummed with life from 100 worlds. Some beings still watched Hana carefully. Some still kept their distance. But more and more they approached. They asked questions. They learned. They understood that the dangerous predator from the death world was also a student who loved documentaries and bad tea, and her delicate alien roommate, who had become her closest friend. The galaxy had been afraid of humanity. Perhaps some small part of it always would be. But fear and friendship were not opposites. They could exist together, balanced carefully, honestly acknowledged. Humanity had been marked as apex predators. They had accepted that truth. And then they had chosen to be something more. Protectors, teachers, partners. Proof that nature was not destiny. That choice mattered more than instinct. Park Hana, the girl from Seoul who just wanted to study alien life, had shown the galaxy that the scariest monsters could choose to be gentle. And in doing so, she had opened the stars not just to humanity, but to the idea that understanding could transcend fear. It was only the beginning. But sometimes beginnings were enough.